Dude, yeah.
Looping and a fun, relaxed.
All right, ready to go?
Excuse me.
Or a free introduction to the wonderful world of looping. For more information, stop by Guitar Center Lessons.
All right.
Leave you guys alone. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Door closed, right?
Please, yeah. All right, Aiden. So cool. How'd it go with practicing and stuff this week? Everything feeling pretty smooth? Ooh, we got some delay on the amp there. So if you grab that knob that has like the tape echo and all that stuff on it, just bring it a little bit up, then all the way down. That's it. Yeah, it should be. Yeah, no more delay. Cool, we're good. Right on. So you got that major scale thing going then. Beautiful. Yeah. Awesome, dude. That's excellent. Yeah. So today, we can talk a little bit about how to like, how to kind of write your own music using just one scale. You already in tune? You good to go, or need to borrow a tuner? You sound okay.
No. I tuned it before we
Yeah.
and you put my case back there.
Yeah, that's cool. Let's see, if you need it, it's right there. But so yeah, with this G major scale, right, we're basically working with 7 different notes. Once we get here, right, we're playing G again. Now this shape, right, that I'm playing right here, no matter where you are on the guitar, you can play octaves using that shape. It's kind of like a power chord, right? You know how to do power chords?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know how a power chord, right? It's like the same shape no matter where you put it on the neck, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes if you go to the G string, you have to do that, right? You have to go an extra fret, right? It doesn't sound right like that. No, that's because of how the guitar is tuned, right? When we tune the guitar, we go like 5th fret, 5th fret, 5th fret, then 4th fret between those 2 strings, right?
Yeah.
And so that little discrepancy there, right? That the fact that there's less distance between the G string and the B string makes it so that when we play power chords on these strings, not that you ever really will, you have to go up an extra fret. But what I'm trying to get at here is that this shape, right? This octave shape works the same way. I could move this around just as much as I move power chords around. So no matter where you are, right? Like let's say you're at the 5th fret there, and you're playing A on the low E string. That means that if you put your ring finger 2 strings and 2 frets higher, you're also playing an A there, And what's cool about that is like, let's say you have a riff that starts on a certain note, right? Like let's say I'm playing something like, just like the beginning of the scale. That means that if I go to that octave shape, I can play that same lick again. Let's try it out starting on the 5th fret of the low E string, right?
I know you were just playing it like that lick right here when you start on the 1st major scale.
Yeah.
And I was just trying to copy what you were doing.
Yeah, no, it's I'm gonna show you how to do it real quick. So yeah, that's the first 5 notes, right? A, B, C sharp, D, E. Right, so you know where that octave is, right? From A, right? So you can go to that A, the octave up, and play that exact same thing.
Where was it?
So it's like you'll play the exact same shape, the exact same fingerings and everything, as long as you start on another A, right? So you can find another A using that octave shape, right? So it's like if I start on the 5th fret here, I can go do 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 do. But if I go to that A, right, on my ring finger, I can do the exact same thing, do 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 do, and I get the same lick. So first thing you want to do is find that octave, right? So start on A with your 1st finger. Or you can use your middle finger, yeah, that's fine. Almost. So middle finger on A at the 5th fret of the E string. Low E, yeah. Oop.
Oh.
So we're just playing the beginning of the major scale. Yeah, right? And so remember how I was showing you that octave thing, right? Where it's 2 strings and 2 frets higher, like where my pinky is right here? So get that note, it's the 7th fret on the D string, yeah. So if you put your middle finger on that 7th fret of the D string where your pinky is currently, put your middle finger there on the pinky note. So the same note that your pinky was just on. Yeah, so that's an A again, right? We know that because we did that octave trick. And so now I can play that same major scale beginning. Ooh, back a fret there. There it is, yeah. So this is a really cool way to play solos and write melodies and sequences. Like I can take this same shape and then just keep playing it on every A, and I have another A way up here. So if I wanted to play like a whole sequence like that, I could go like this. Yeah, there it is. Ooh, middle finger. Ooh, middle finger note on the G string there. So start it again. Just on the D string where you were. So what's happening there, Aiden, is you're shifting your hand up a fret. So what you want to do is try not to shift your hand at all, right? If you start with your middle finger, your first finger note on the G string is going to be a fret behind where your middle finger was when you started.
So, 7th fret?
Yeah, I'm starting the 7th fret of the D string. So right there, did you see how you shifted your first finger up a fret? You want to make sure that you don't, yeah, like that, right? You see how you just kind of stay all in position like that, yeah. There you go, yeah. And then, did it again. Just make sure you don't scoot it up, yeah. There you go, yeah, awesome. And the next octave is, the 10th fret on the B string. So again, start with your middle finger. You're going to play the exact same shape every single time, you know? You start here. I'm playing the exact same shape with my left hand. You know, it's always like your middle finger is playing that first note, and then when your first finger plays the first note that's on the next string up, you got to make sure that you don't, so careful there, dude. Slow it down a bit. Yeah, like that. Yeah, nice. And then middle finger starting it out on the B string at the 10th fret. Oop, other direction.
Yeah, I'm just counting my frets.
Oh, yeah?
I was trying to make sure I was on the right fret.
Cool. So again, middle, that's it, yeah. Yeah, an easy trick, right, is if you're at the double dots, that's the 12th fret, right?
Yeah.
Let's just go 2 back. Cool, man.
Yeah, so...
Middle finger, remember? Start with the middle finger. Yeah, and then again, start with the middle finger at the 10th fret there. Middle finger, yeah. And then don't shift up a fret there, right? Your hand stays. So chill out for a sec. So the reason that we start with the middle finger, right, is because if you start with the middle finger on the 10th fret, then all your other fingers are kind of assigned automatically to the other frets, right? So if you start with the middle finger here, then you don't have to move your hand at all to get to that next note, right? So what's happening, what I'm seeing is you have a tendency to shift up like that, and so you want to try to avoid that. Try not to shift up, just go do, do, do. All the frets are right there. Yeah. So yeah, just those 3 notes, dude. So remember, start at the middle, and then don't shift up. Yeah. So, there it is, right? So you see how it's like 1 finger per fret. Yeah, exactly. So that concept, right, of that concept of moving a lick around in different octaves, you can apply that to anything. A really good example of someone who did that is this guitar player called Paul Gilbert. You know who he is?
I feel like you've told me about it before.
Yeah,
Did
I
you write
probably
this?
talked about
Did
him.
you write this lick?
Yeah, that one, right? Yeah. Yeah, he plays it all like he's a crazy fast guitar player. You should look him up. He's really good. I learned a lot from watching his instructional videos. But that's something he talks about a lot. Is if you want to play fast stuff that's kind of easy. I say easy in quotes because it's not easy to play that fast. But like, you could take something simple like. Play it in different octaves, or you can play like the first 6 notes of the scale.
It's like doing a sweep. Can you do a sweep on the guitar, like?
Yeah, like
Just curious.
sweeps. Yeah, sweeps are fun, but they're pretty hard. It's like you want to start with that thing, right? Get your picking pretty clean first, because the sweeping is like a different technique entirely. Yeah, it looks good, dude. You got the alternate picking going. Yeah. So earlier I was saying that we can kind of use this major scale shape to think about chords and like how to write a song using a single scale, right? So let's take this back to G, which is I think where I wrote it out in G for you, right? So we're starting on G here, the 3rd fret. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. So let's name these notes now as we go up. So we're starting on G. Right, and then the next note is going to be what?
So G note.
So yeah, the middle finger was G. What's the pinky note? Yeah, it's okay. Pull it up. It's all good. Yeah.
G. So what's next to G?
Yeah. Well, so think about the musical alphabet, right? It goes A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then what? You restart it, right? So this note is what? It was the one that we were just playing earlier. We were starting here.
So that's.
So think about it like
note?
it's an A. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, cool. What's after A?
G.
No, we started on G, right?
D.
Nope. So right after it, so G,
C.
A, B,
B.
right? A, then...
I'm reading it upside down.
Yeah. Well, so it's not so much about reading it. You just want to think about the alphabet, G, A, B, C, D, E. Then we have F sharp, and then G. And so we haven't talked a whole lot about sharps and flats. I mean, way back when we first started, we talked about how there's a whole step between every note except for E to F and B to C. Remember that? It was like, I think it was like our first lesson or something.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, we're at a whole step being 2 frets and a half step being 1 fret. When we're going up a scale like this, like the major scale, everything is either a half step or a whole step, So with that in mind, you can kind of figure out like, okay, if I'm going a half step then a whole step here, I know that I'm going from like B to C and then C to D, Does that make sense?
B to C and C to D.
So that was the first 2 you played was B to C, yeah. Right. But this is not D, right? That wasn't a whole step, right? This is 2 whole steps apart. A whole step would be only 2 frets up from the previous note, right? So like a half step, 1 fret, and then a whole step, 2 frets. Nope. So yeah, there you go.
I'm just copying whatever you're doing.
That's all right. Yeah, I'm only picking up there. Just I don't know. So basically, we can go through and number all the name all the notes for G major. Where did I write that scale out? Yeah, here at the bottom here. So we're basically going G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and then G. So try to just kind of like name the notes to yourself as you go up the scale. So G, A, right? So remember how we're fingering this, right? Starting on the middle finger, yeah? And then pinkies, A. And then this next note is what?
C.
Not C, right? Remember G, A. What comes after A?
B.
Yeah, B.
I just accidentally, I was reading it upside down again.
Oh, that's okay. So cool. What comes after B? What's this note?
C.
Yeah. And then what's after C?
E.
No. Think about the alphabet.
Oh, B, C, C sharp.
No. So we're playing the scale, right? Yeah, it's just G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. So every note is just a natural note except for F sharp, right? That's the very last note we play. So G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Go ahead and try it again. So G, A, yeah. G, A. So name it as you go, right? So yeah, go back to the B, the second fret of the A string.
Oh.
Oops, so we're still playing the G major scale. Just yeah. So this is B, right? A and then B. Then we have C. Then the pinky note is what? Just think about the alphabet.
It's just two frets away from C, right?
Right. So every note is a whole step apart, right? A whole step is 2 frets. So what's the next note up from C?
E?
No, there's one letter between C and E. Right? D. Can't skip the open strings, yeah? Right? And remember, like anything that's at the 5th fret is the next string open, right? That's how we tune the guitar. So if they sound the same, they have the same note. Yeah, you hear that, right? Those are both D, right? You know this is the D string.
That's actually how I tune my guitar when all these...
Yeah. Well, so that's, in that sense, you already know what every note at the 5th and 4th fret is, right? Cool, so after D, then we have the 2nd fret of the D string. So the next note up from D.
From D. E.
Yeah, E, right? And then, so normally, right, we would play like F with the middle finger here, but that's not a part of our scale, right? We have to play this note, right? So this is F sharp. It's a half step up from F. And then we're back at G. Ooh. Yeah, there you go. Cool, man. So yeah, you definitely want to, when you're practicing scales and different positions and everything, think about the names of the notes you're playing. It doesn't have to be the kind of thing where like you're always like saying it out loud and stuff, but you just want to kind of like develop a sense for what the names of the notes are that you're playing,
Yeah.
because it'll make it easier to communicate with other musicians when you start playing in bands and stuff.
Yeah.
So let's talk about building chords. This is a pretty
Like making your own chord, like,
um
or taking it and putting it in your own style.
pretty well, so kind of, it's when I say building chords, it's like we're basically pulling out all the chords from the scale, right? It's not like we're inventing new chords. It's just every single scale gives us a set of 7 chords to work with, and I'll show you how we find them. So we've talked about how like all of our normal kind of open chord shapes are triads, right? They've only got 3 different notes in them, right? Remember kind of how we were talking about that, I think maybe like 1 or 2 weeks ago, right? So for instance, this G chord, the only notes that I'm playing in this chord are G, B, and D. The next 3 strings, I have another G, right? Then I have another D, and then I have another G. So it's only 3 different notes, right?
Isn't it? I thought you just used these fingers and wish you were here.
So that's kind of a thing, right? Because, all right, so think about what I just said, right? Like G, B, and D are the 3 notes of a G chord. So if I were to lift off my ring finger, what note would I be playing on that string?
G note.
No. So I have no finger on the B string, right? That's the string I'm talking about. So if I don't have a finger on the B string, what note am I playing?
On the East.
B string.
G string.
B string.
D.
I'm playing B because I'm playing the B string open, right?
Yeah.
It's all good. Yeah. So right, G, B, and D are the 3 notes of a G chord, and so I could have my ring finger here playing D, or I could have the open string playing B. Both of those are notes that are in the G chord, which is why sometimes you'll see people playing G like this, or like this, where I have the B string open. But sometimes people play G like this with all 4 fingers. And both of them are correct. They're both G chords because they both use the same 3 notes. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
cool. It's